Have you ever wondered if there's a better way to nurture our children than the current prevailing model? This question brings us to the heart of The Gardener and the Carpenter, a thought-provoking book by Alison Gopnik. Gopnik introduces the metaphor of the gardener and the carpenter to help visualize two contrasting approaches to raising children. The carpenter symbolizes what is often seen as a modern way of parenting. This approach views children as raw material, to be meticulously chiseled and shaped into a specific predetermined form, much like a carpenter crafting a piece of furniture. The focus is on control, precision, and adherence to a set plan, with the ultimate goal of producing a particular kind of adult. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the gardener. Unlike the carpenter who imposes a specific shape on his work, the gardener cultivates an environment that allows plants to flourish and grow in their own unique ways. The gardener understands that while they can provide the necessary nurturing and care, they cannot control the outcome. Each plant, like each child, grows in its own unique way, influenced by a myriad of factors, both within and outside of the gardener's control. Gopnik argues that the gardener's approach is a more fitting metaphor for raising children. Instead of trying to mold children into a preconceived image of what they should be, we should focus on creating a rich, nurturing environment that allows them to develop in their own unique ways. This approach values diversity, flexibility, and adaptability, recognizing that each child is an individual with their own strengths, weaknesses, interests, and potential. This metaphor of the gardener and the carpenter gives us a fresh perspective on the relationship between parents and children. It challenges the traditional notions of parenting and invites us to think about how we can best support our children's growth and development. As we delve into this book, we'll explore why Gopnik believes the gardener approach is more beneficial to the development of children. The modern concept of parenting is under scrutiny in the first chapter. Alison Gopnik begins her exploration by placing a magnifying glass over the idea of parenting as a specific kind of work, a skill that one can refine, master, and apply like a carpenter shaping a piece of wood. She argues that such a view is not only restrictive, but also counterproductive to the natural development of children. Imagine a child as a seed. Each seed holds the potential to grow into a unique plant given the right environment, but if we try to carve that seed to shape it into a form we find desirable, what happens? We destroy the seed's inherent potential. Similarly, when we view parenting as a task of shaping children into a predetermined mold, we risk stifling their natural growth and development. We risk missing out on the beauty of their individuality, their unique perspectives, their innate talents, and their boundless potential. Gopnik suggests that the act of parenting as a verb, something we do to our children, is a relatively modern phenomenon, a product of a society obsessed with control, predictability, and perfection. However, the reality of child development is far from predictable. It's a complex, dynamic process influenced by a myriad of factors, many of which are beyond our control. Instead of focusing on parenting as a skill or a task, Gopnik proposes a shift in perspective. She encourages us to view our role not as a carpenter, but as a gardener. A gardener does not shape the plants. Instead, they cultivate an environment where plants can thrive, providing the right balance of sunlight, water, and nutrients. They understand that each plant will grow in its own unique way, and they respect and nurture this individuality. This sets the stage for a new perspective, being a parent as part of a relationship, rather than parenting as a verb. It's not about doing, but about being. Being present, being supportive, being loving, and being open to the wonderful unpredictability of children's growth and development. Our next journey takes us back in time to explore the roots of human development. Alison Gopnik takes us on a fascinating exploration into the evolutionary background of human development in the second chapter of The Gardener and the Carpenter. She shines a light on a unique aspect of our species, the extended period of childhood. This prolonged phase, which sets us apart from other species, isn't a mere coincidence. It holds the key to our species' unrivaled capacity for learning and creativity. Gopnik suggests that this extended period of childhood is a result of an evolutionary adaptation. It provides a window of time for the child to absorb a vast amount of information about the world, to explore, to experiment, and to engage in what she refers to as lantern consciousness. This period of explorative learning is crucial in shaping the child's understanding of the world and their place in it. Unlike the focused beam of a flashlight, a lantern illuminates everything in its vicinity, allowing the child to take in information from all directions. This metaphor beautifully encapsulates the child's natural curiosity and their ability to learn from a wide array of experiences. In contrast to other species, human children spend a significant part of their lives being dependent on adults. This dependency isn't a weakness but a strength, as it allows for a prolonged period of learning and growth, making them adaptable and resilient. This evolutionary perspective is a powerful reminder of the natural capacity of children to learn and adapt. It underscores the importance of providing a nurturing environment where children can explore their interests, make sense of the world, and learn at their own pace. Gopnik's perspective teaches us that children aren't just passive recipients of knowledge but active learners. This realization can transform how we approach nurturing children, shifting from a directive role to a supportive one, encouraging their natural curiosity rather than trying to shape it. Understanding our evolutionary past can help us navigate the complexities of nurturing children in the present. Let's dive into the mind of a child and the paradoxes of modern parenting. Picture, if you will, a young child. Their mind is not a blank slate but rather a bustling hub of curiosity, ready to absorb the world around them. According to Gopnik, children are not merely passive recipients of information, but active learners, eager to explore, experiment, and adapt. This is the central theme of Chapter 3, where Gopnik argues that this natural curiosity should not be strictly guided or shaped, but nurtured and encouraged. Now, imagine the child's world as an intricate tapestry woven with threads of learning and love. They are intrinsically intertwined, each influencing and enhancing the other. This is the heart of Chapter 4, where Gopnik delves into the interconnectedness of emotional security and learning. A nurturing and loving environment, she argues, is not just a nice-to-have, but a crucial element for healthy intellectual and emotional development. But what happens when the threads of love and learning are tightly wound around the spool of modern parenting techniques? Here, we encounter a paradox. Despite the ever-increasing focus on parenting methods and techniques, there's no clear evidence that these significantly improve children's outcomes. This is the quandary that Gopnik grapples with in Chapter 5. In our well-intentioned pursuit of perfect parenting, we might be tempted to shape and mold our children, to guide them along a predetermined path. But Gopnik cautions against this. Children, she argues, are not carpentry projects to be carefully crafted into a specific design. Instead, they are more like plants in a garden, each unique, each requiring a different blend of sunlight, soil, and water to thrive. Instead of striving for control and predictability, Gopnik advocates for a more relaxed, less structured approach. She encourages us to embrace the variability and unpredictability inherent in child development, to let our children explore, make mistakes, and learn from them, to provide a nurturing environment for them to grow in, but also to allow them the freedom to shape their own paths. So, what does this mean for us? Well, it's a call to shift our perspective, to move away from the notion of parenting as a form of skilled labor and towards being a parent as a relationship, to focus less on shaping our children and more on nurturing them, to let go of the illusion of control and embrace the unpredictability, the messiness, the beautiful chaos that is childhood. In the end, Gopnik suggests that our role as parents is not to create a specific kind of adult, but to provide a rich, nurturing environment for our children to grow into the adults they are meant to be. Despite our best intentions, the techniques of modern parenting may not always yield the results we expect. Life is full of unpredictability, and so is child development. In the 6th chapter of The Gardener and the Carpenter, Alison Gopnik takes us on a journey into the realm of choice, chance, and variation in child development. She deftly illustrates how children's growth isn't a linear path but rather a beautiful, complex dance of unpredictability and randomness. Imagine a garden. It's a living, breathing ecosystem teeming with life in all its vibrant colors and forms. Every plant in this garden grows at its own pace, in its own unique way, influenced by an array of elements: the richness of the soil, the amount of sunlight it receives, the frequency of the rain. That's the beauty of a garden, isn't it? The diversity, the variation, the unpredictability. Likewise, children grow and develop in their own unique ways, influenced by myriad factors. They bloom in their own time, nurtured by the environment around them. Just as we can't control how a rose or a daisy grows in our garden, we can't control how a child grows. Instead, we can only provide a nurturing environment and let nature take its course. This perspective may seem daunting, especially in a world where we're accustomed to having control. But embracing this unpredictability, Gopnik argues, can lead to a healthier and more realistic approach to raising children. It allows us to appreciate the uniqueness of each child, to celebrate their individuality rather than trying to mold them into a predetermined shape. In the 7th chapter, Gopnik delves into the concept of balance. Balance between structure and freedom, between guidance and allowing children to explore on their own. She introduces the concept of good enough parenting, a term that may initially sound underwhelming but is in fact a profound shift in perspective. Good enough parenting doesn't mean settling for mediocrity. Rather, it's about recognizing that striving for perfection in child rearing is neither possible nor desirable. It's about understanding that being a parent isn't about executing a perfect plan, but about providing a nurturing environment where children can grow and flourish in their own unique ways. It's about understanding that making mistakes is not only inevitable but also an essential part of the journey. These mistakes, these imperfections, they don't make us bad parents. They make us human. And they provide valuable lessons for us and our children. Good enough parenting is about embracing the unpredictability, about dancing with the randomness, about nurturing without stifling. It's about realizing that the goal isn't to create a perfect child, but to nurture a human being who is capable of navigating the complex, beautiful, and often unpredictable journey of life. So as we navigate the whirlwind of raising a child, let's remember that good enough parenting is more realistic and beneficial than striving for perfection. Let's embrace the unpredictability, let's dance with the randomness, and let's celebrate the unique, beautiful individuals our children are becoming. Because in the end, as Gopnik beautifully demonstrates, the journey is as important as the destination, and every child's journey is uniquely their own. In the whirlwind of raising a child, it's essential to remember that good enough parenting is more realistic and beneficial than striving for perfection. As we wrap up our journey, let's revisit the initial metaphor of the gardener and the carpenter. Alison Gopnik invites us back to the beginning, to the metaphor that sets the stage for her entire argument. She contrasts the roles of the gardener and the carpenter. The carpenter, in her view, represents the current model of parenting that focuses on shaping a child into a particular kind of adult. Every cut, every nail is deliberate, designed with a specific outcome in mind. But children aren't slabs of wood to be whittled into predetermined shapes. They are living, growing entities full of potential and surprises. On the other hand, the gardener, Gopnik suggests, is the embodiment of a different approach. The gardener doesn't control each bud, each leaf, each root. Instead, the gardener tends to the overall environment, nourishing the soil, ensuring there's enough sunlight and water, but allowing the plants to grow in their own unique ways. In the gardener's care, each plant gets the opportunity to flourish, to become what it is meant to be, not what someone else decides it should be. The gardener's approach is not about control, but about providing a rich, nurturant environment. It's about creating a space where children can explore, learn and grow in their own unique ways. It's about fostering an environment where children can thrive, not just survive. The gardener understands that the beauty of a garden lies in its diversity, in the unpredictability of its growth patterns, in the surprising resilience of its plants. The gardener doesn't expect a rose to bloom like a sunflower, or a fern to grow tall like a tree. Each plant, each child, has its own rhythm, its own trajectory. The gardener's task is not to dictate, but to nurture, to support, to encourage. As we've seen, nurturing our children like a gardener can allow them to flourish in their own unique ways. We may not know what they will become, but we can provide them with the love, the care, the environment they need to grow into the best versions of themselves. So, what have we learned from Alison Gopnik's The Gardener and the Carpenter? In essence, it's a call to shift our perspective from parenting as a verb to being a parent as a relationship. The book criticizes the modern concept of parenting as a specific skill or work, arguing that it can be restrictive and counterproductive to children's natural development. From an evolutionary perspective, the extended period of childhood allows for a prolonged phase of learning and creativity. Gopnik's exploration of the cognitive and emotional development of children underscores the necessity of nurturing their natural curiosity and learning ability, rather than strictly guiding or shaping them. The paradox of modern parenting culture, despite its focus on technique, lacks clear evidence of improving children's outcomes. The roles of choice, chance, and variation in child development are unpredictable and random, but acknowledging this can lead to a healthier approach to raising children. Striving for good enough parenting, finding a balance between structure and freedom, is both realistic and beneficial. Remember, as parents, our role isn't to shape our children, but rather to provide a nurturing environment for them to grow and develop in their own unique ways.